Alright, looks like we're live. Alright, it's time to get back to work on our Zelda Remake. So, this and this, I need to copy those. Move them to the new overworld. I guess a node. Call this UI. Paste those in. Let's see. Alright. This all still works, right? Yeah. Alright. So, first thing we should do today is finish moving everything from the overworld, the old overworld to the new overworld. And also, let's go ahead and change this to be maybe it's environment? No. Chunked worlds? Yeah, overworld. Overworld. Open. Close. So if I hit regular play button. Perfect. Alright. Now we need to grab the Great Fairies. They need to be moved to the new overworld. Let's see. Fairy fountain, fairy fountain. Same with, well, all of these need to be moved. Go ahead and copy those. Go to the overworld mesh. Paste those in there. Now, I actually want to move them. Or no, those things can just stay loaded, I think. Alright. Let's see. Ah, I'm getting beat up. Ah. Thought I assigned that. Whoop. Oh, actually, I do want to check the... Oop, wrong way. This. I want to make sure this still works. So, if I go through here... Yeah. Okay. If I go down here... Alright. If I go up here... Yeah, it all seems to still work. Alright. Now. Okay. Those things seem to still be working. So, let's see. I think that's moving all the items over. So now we should get to work on getting the like spawn animations for overworld enemies. And that's going to essentially result in, like, rewriting how enemies in the overworld work. I think I'm gonna move them to work off of states, like the dungeon enemies. And so that's gonna be a big rewrite to them. But it shouldn't be too bad, so... Folder, call it Overworld. And I need to double check how screens work. Because it has been like a week since I touched this stuff. So, yeah, the things are just part of the scene, and then they get loaded in. Okay, and that's done in this script, right? Let's see. So we have an ABB bounding box and load dist on screen notifier. This one is disabled. Okay. Okay, so the screen itself is not what's triggered there. Or it's gotta be. How am I loading enemies in? How does any of this work? Enemies doesn't... Am I doing it in here? So we get the current screen, and if the screen is empty, or the current screen is not the current screen, it's not the one we have saved, and we queue free that. Okay, we're just loading in the entire screen. Yeah. We just load in the entire screen and then we unload it when we leave. But screens need to keep track of what enemies have been defeated, and then we need to reset that anytime. How does enemy respawning work in the original Legend of Zelda? Okay. So, I guess the way it works is if all enemies in a screen are killed and you leave the screen and you visit at least 8 other screens before coming back to that screen, then it will respawn them. So I guess the way I can do that is if I have an 8 I have an array that gets a max length of 8. And every time you visit the screen, it pushes that screen name to the back. It will then say... Okay. So that has to happen here. So, screens visited will be an array of strings equal to this. So, if not screen, or current screen is not equal to screen done, then now if you go back into the room, does that reset it? Right? Like, if I walk out, visit 4 screens, visit this screen again, leave, visit 4 more screens, and visit the screen again, do they respawn? I don't know. I'm going to say yes. So, we're going to keep track of all the unique screens they visited. So, basically we can just say, so we're going into a new screen. Then in this case, we have current screen, which is the name. So we can say that screens, we can say if screens visited, or if current screen is in screens visited, and actually if it's not in it, then screens screens visited dot pushback current screen. And then we want to say if screens visited, if the length of this is greater than 8, we'll make this unique respawn unique screen count, which will be an int equal to 8. This also needs a semicolon. Then screens visited dot pop front. So we'll remove the oldest one, essentially. Now we also need to keep in mind respawn enemies. Will be false, but it's going to be true if we're in here. And we also don't care about the situation of, like, we don't have a full 8 screens we've visited yet, because it's the first time we're visiting that screen then, and breaking it to fix it, what's wrong with it? It runs very slow, and so I've chunked up the world into the individual screens, and I'm going to be loading in enemies and stuff when you visit the screen, rather than just having all enemies in the overworld loaded at once. Yeah. Okay, so... And then we have to set the screen dot respawn enemies to respawn enemies. Wait, why is this called screen.trez.gd? Yeah. Yeah, that is what I have realized. It really is just called screen.trez.gd. That's awful. I hate that. Scripts. Where did I put that? Was that in enemies? Overworld. Yeah, that's awful. Okay. Screen.gd, and let's move this. It did not like that. It did not like me renaming that one bit. Oh my gosh. Let's just ignore that. I'm sure it's fine. Let's see. I want to move this to the chunked world folder, which is probably going to take another little bit to load that, just because of how many scenes use this script. Alright, I'm not moving this anymore. It's staying right there. Okay. This needs to have... What did I call the variable? Respawn enemies? Var respawn enemies will equal false. Okay. Now I need to somehow save the state of this node. Like what enemies are loaded. Okay, you know, I could, so... I essentially need an auto load that stores which enemies are still alive and which enemies are dead. Per screen. What if you made all the enemies spawn near the player around a certain circumference? So I already have the like enemies spawning when you enter the screen. The assignment property respawn enemies on. Really? Did I not just add that? Whatever. I'll just comment this out for now and figure that out. So I already have it all chunked up so that, like, if I enter a screen, the enemies for that screen spawn. So, that's all working fine. The issue is that, enemies always respawn, right? Because I'm loading in the scene, and it has its enemies, and if I, you know, walk out and then walk back, they're just gonna always respawn. Yeah. But, you know, enemies are supposed to stay dead for a while. Specifically, until you visit They should not respawn unless all the enemies are killed in that room and you visit 8 other unique screens. So, or if you go into a dungeon and leave a dungeon. That's another case where enemies respawn. But I'm not sure how I'm going to store which enemies have died. I guess the enemies have unique names that I could look at. Yeah. Okay. So... Although I am confused why it was getting upset about this. Okay. Screen 07. Wait, do none of the screens have... I gotta test something. Okay. That seems to be working fine. I wonder why I have things transformed then. Maybe it's something I just need to fix. Yeah, things seem to be working fine. Yeah, okay. Then... So this is the only screen that has this script. So let's remove that. So this is... Okay. So I gotta go through all the screens and fix those. I think. Right? That doesn't break this screen, right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, that means I have to go through every single screen and fix its transform. And then also add a script to them. No, I'm not gonna change that actually. I guess that's being used somewhere. Screen enemy manager. Okay, so so this is where we have to basically spawn what enemies should still be there. So we need an auto load. Call this the enemy tracker. Project settings, globals, scripts, chunked world, enemy tracker, open, add. Okay, so this guy is basically going to say, we're going to have our screens, which is going to be a dictionary. And this is going to essentially let's see. Need add screen data. And screens, screen, whoa, pull this screen data. Okay. And then get screen data for screen is just going to return screens. Screen. Okay. Now the enemy manager has screen data for a screen. This will just be return screens dot has screen. Okay, and so we'll check if enemy tracker dot has get already our screen is a take get parent. Okay. So if it has screen name, then enemy tracker dot get screen data from first screen name. Okay. Otherwise, for enemy in get children data dot pushback enemy.name, or we're going to be pushing back, or no. Data enemy.name will equal alive. Okay, and then enemy tracker dot add screen data for screen name data, and then we can for enemy in data, or no, in get children, if data enemy dot name is dead, then enemy dot queue free. Okay. And then on exit tree, we're going to for data will equal enemy tracker dot get screen data for our screen name, and then for key for enemy name in data enemy name will equal has node, and that's the path of has node enemy name. This is alive if that, otherwise dead. And then enemy tracker dot add screen data for screen name of data. Okay. So with that, if this is on the enemies node in a screen, that should make it so that, you know, when it first loads in, they all load in. And then, you know, if you kill something and walk away and walk back, only the ones that should still be alive should appear. So, let's open up screen 1.7 and put that on there. Okay. And enemies. Screen enemy manager. Put that on there. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Oh, enemy tracker dot screens or dot has screen data. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. Killed 2 of them. Has node on base node 3D. You can convert argument 1 from string name to node path. What? How is a string not a node path? What? Let's see. Godot convert from string name to node path. To a node path, you must first convert string name to a string, then create a node path from that string. I'll just do a double conversion. I wonder if just converting to a string will fix that. Okay. Okay. Alright, there's 2 of them. Alright, there's just 2 of them. There should just be 1 of them. Yeah. Okay. That's working. Now, I need to do the respawning. So, essentially, which I already did the logic for, I just need to I just need to pass that down to this level somehow. Okay, and then screen manager. Instead, I can say enemy tracker dot should respawn current screen should equal respawn enemies. Okay. And then in here we should has screen data or not enemy tracker dot should respawn screen name. Oh, and not or not. And not should respawn. There we go. Okay, let's test that. So if I come up here, they spawn in. If I kill all the enemies, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. That's 8 unique screens. If I make my way back to here, they respawn. Nice. However, if I, come in here and I do that, and I then just make a loop like this, they should not respawn. Nope. But if I then come out and make a quick loop around, they should respawn. No. Maybe I didn't visit 8 unique screens there. Let me do that. And come up here. Okay. That's gotta be 8 unique screens. There we go. Yeah, okay. I was just like one short or something. Alright, seems to be working. Okay. Now I just need to put that script on every enemy's node on every screen. Yay! Okay. Let's go in order, I guess. 0, 1. Screen enemy manager. Save. Zero, 2. Screen enemy manager. 0, 3. Oh, this is gonna take a minute. Screen enemy manager. Alright, 0-4. Screen enemy manager. 0-5. Screen enemy manager. 0-6. Screen enemy manager. 0-7. There's new classes which cave door 1 already in the scene. Okay. Okay. Zero 10. Oops. Okay, that's row 0 done. Let's open up row 1. Can I just... Oh, perfect. Alright. Row 1 done. Let's open up row 2. Why does this one have like 13 exits? Okay, that's the one placed correctly. Just one exit and one entrance, please. Very odd. Alright. That's 2 done. On to 3. That's okay. Alright, that's row 3 done. Row 4. Alright, 4's done. On to 5. Alright. Row 5, done. On to row 6. All right, Screen 6 done. Or row 6. On to row 7. The last row. Let's go. Alright, and the last screen. With nothing on it. Alright. So that's that. Oh man. So now enemies will spawn and respawn as they did in the original. Okay. Now, we essentially want to, yeah, now we just have to go through all the overworld enemies and add their spawn animations. Which, in the original, was just like a puff of smoke. So, we're just going to do that. Let's start with the Octorok, as you do. Enemies, dungeon. Alright. Okay, let's move the Octoroks into our overworld folder. That's going to take a second, just because of how many different scenes have Octoroks in them. I should really close out the old data. Yeah, let's do that real quick. Let's open up our original overworld. Close that. And then let's close the map. Alright, enemy test room's fine. Level 1 is fine. I'm gonna have to come back to that and figure out how I want to do that. Okay. So in the overworld, or no, we want to go in and modify the Octoroks. So, wait, where is the basic Octorok? There it is. Wow. It takes some time. Oh, overworld backup. I can close that. Alright, there we go. Clear all that. Alright, let's open up our original Octorok. Now, right now, Octoroks are like... I am fighting every urge to rewrite all the overworld enemies to use a state machine instead of an internal state machine. Oh, okay. I need to make their spawning state. Okay. And here we can say visible will equal state is states dot spawning. You don't even know what an internal state machine is? Okay, so... looking at the architecture of... hey, I'll explain it. So looking at the architecture of our Octorok, we have all of this stuff in the Octorok node, and it's all controlled by this singular script, octorok.gd. And in here... we define an enum of states, so the different states that exist, and then we have this variable that keeps track of which state the Octorok's in. And then in this script, we have functions that trigger based on what the state variable is set to. So this is an internal state machine because the entire state machine is within a singular script. Whereas a normal state machine, we would essentially have a node in Octorok that was the state machine. And then that node would have children nodes of every state that the Octorok has. And then it would only ever call the scripts of those children node if it was in that state. And so it's a lot more separated. Yeah. And it's a lot cleaner because then you don't have 200-line scripts. You have 50-line scripts, right? It's just much easier to work with. And I was not thinking this project was going to be the scope it was. Granted, the scope of the project hasn't changed, but I underestimated how complicated the original Legend of Zelda was. So I was very lazy at the beginning and made stuff in not the best way. And it is coming to bite me in the ass. But it's also just not worth it at this point to go back and rewrite it. Even though it will be better and there will be less bugs, it's such a time sink because I have to remake every single enemy in the new context. Granted, I can copy-paste a lot of code, but either way, it just wouldn't be worth it. In comparison... when I was making the dungeon enemies, I did do an external state machine. So you can see they have their state machine script, which controls which states are active, and then each one has its own state that it can switch between. Okay. So when they're spawning, we don't want them to be visible, and we want... Yeah. And then... add a sprite 3D. This will be the spawn effect. This is going to use the I think it's in Link. Yeah, there's the smoke. Grab that. Animation. There's 3. Visible. Do I need that to... What is going on here? I guess it's a tool script, but... Okay, that was weird. Do like right there. Spawn effect. Nearest. Billboard. Y billboard. The sorting should be 1.6. So it's in front of it. And this guy needs a animation player. No, not an animation tree. Animation player. Animation new. Spawn. This is going to be 0.4 seconds. It's going to be autoplay. And then, frame 0. Just turn snapping on. Okay. And at 0.3. Alright, that looks pretty good. And then let's add a call method track on Octorok, which is just going to spawned, which is just going to set state equal to states.move. Actually, no, I don't want it to be invisible. By default, it'll be space.spawned. Spawning. Okay, and then here we call spawned. Okay. So, theoretically, when I walk into a room with Octoroks, or screen with Octoroks, they should do the spawn animation. Nope. Octorok rock does not exist. Yeah, that makes sense. I gotta adjust that, don't I? An Octorok rig? Yeah, enemies / overworld / Octorok rock. Alright. That looks pretty good. Ah. Oof. Alright, I gotta make sure that things don't spawn. I gotta make sure that things don't spawn on the edges of worlds. Let's see. So that was or you know what I could do? I could say I should make it so that enemies spawn in random positions, like closest to the center of the screen. And the way I can do that is so, okay, I gotta do a little bit of math. Okay, so if a screen is, how many tiles is a screen? I gotta figure that out first. It's been so long. Okay, let's see, Zelda. Zelda NES sprites. There we go. Overworld. Okay, let's see. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 16 wide and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 tall. So 11 by 16. So zero is at the halfway of the 5, 6. And actually, it's the other way if we're going in terms of world. And this is 8, 9. Okay, so and let's say that it can't spawn within 2 tiles of a screen edge. So we can spawn anywhere from x of negative. So -8 is the screen edge. 7, 6. So -6 times 1.6 is how big a tile is. 2, 6 times 1.6. Okay. And then the y can go anywhere from, so 0.5 to get to 5, 4, 3, 2. So that's 3. So negative 3.5 times 1.6 to 3.5 times 1.6. And so those are the bounds. And then I actually want to take those bounds and convert them into getting the center of the tile. So a tile can be thought of as 16 units instead of 1.6 units. And then we can floor that and add 0.5. So if we, and then we can, divide by 10 to get it back to our normal units. And so our equation for possible positions is to get a random possible position is going to be rand f range of -6 times 16 to 6 times 16. Not inclusive. Inclusive on the bottom, not inclusive on the top. I'll have to see if there's a way to do that in randf range. And then, so that's x. And then we floor that. Floor just floor of x. And then we can divide that by 10. And that'll give us our x position. And then our y position is the same thing, but from -3.5 times 16 and 3.5 times 16. Not inclusive on the top. And then y is, floor y divide by 10. Okay. So in Octorok, when we're in ready, Well, let's make that function to get a random spot. Get random spawn position, which will return, well, it'll do var pos will equal a vector 2 of, we'll do position x will equal randef range of -6 times 16 and 6 times 16. Is there a way to make this inclusive? Turn a random flow of inclusive. Is there a way to make it exclusive? Minus 0.1. Or I can just subtract 1, and that'll be pixel size. Okay. And then position Z, same thing. -3.5 times 16 and 3.5 times 16 minus 1. I have an extra set of parentheses here I don't need. Okay. And then we will return a vector 3 of floor position x divided by 10 floor then this is just position dot y, and then this is floor position z over 10. Okay, so that will pick a random center of a tile. And then in ready, we're going to set spawn position, which is going to be another function. Which will we'll do var position will equal get random spawn position or no, we set the position, and while moving collide vector 3.0 position will equal get random spawn position. Well, we'll do up. And this will be a test only. Position, get random spawn position. Okay. This will either be an endless loop or it's going to work perfectly. And the only way to test that is to play the game. Oh, jeez. Ah. Okay. 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 Seems to be working. All right. Oh, that looks pretty good. No hang-ups. They're never spawning right on me. They're getting close, but they're never spawning on me, which is the important thing. Okay, yeah. Blue Octoroks are broken because they don't have the spawn effect. So if we copy that and open up our blue Octorok and put that in there. Blue Octorok should work fine. Ooh. Oof. Yeah. Give me. Ooh. Cool. That looks pretty good to me. All right. So now I just have to add that to the rest of the enemies that spawn above ground. You know, the Zoras don't matter, and what are they called? The guys. Levers. The levers don't matter. Zoras and levers don't matter. But P-Hats, Tektites, Lionels, they all need the spawn effect. Yeah. But, I need to use the bathroom, so I will be right back. I am back. Alright. Okay. So Octoroks are done. Let's see. Armos, Guinea, Levers. Rocks. And Zoras all don't need to change. So I can just move them without issue. Although, yeah. There we go. And then also the Zora. There we go. Alright. Should be good. Alright. So, the Lionel. Let's add his spawning state and set it to spawning by default. Spawning. I'm going to open up the Octorok as well, just to grab this stuff. Copy that. And then it's in the ready function when we do this, yeah. Lionel. That happened first. Alright, and then let's open up the Octorok to grab the spawn effect. Copy. Paste. Okay, I think that's all I have to do to give them a spawn effect. Let's try it out. Enemies, Guinea does not exist. Which... Grave. Trunked world components, enemies, UI. It's probably in components. Grave. It's probably going to be the same thing with the statue. Although that, I think, is going to be in enemies. Armos statue. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. North, west, south, west. Okay. Makes sense. Here we go. I wonder if it'll be faster to go to the... Enemies. Overworld rock. Alright, let's try it again. Oh, no. Quit it. Okay. That seemed to work. So let's do that for the blue Lionel. So we just copy this. Lionel blue. Paste. Fix that. Lionel. Overworld. Lionel blue model. Is he still? Yeah, okay. Alright, Lionels are done. Moblins. Paste. Moblin blue. Paste. Moblin model. Enemies. Overworld. There we go. Oh, and Moblin as well. Okay. Copy that. Paste that in. And then ready. set spawn position. Okay. Moblins should have a spawn animation now. Wow. I forgot to add their spawning state. I think I forgot to do that on the Lionel as well. No, I did not. Okay. Ow. Ah. Alright, cool. Alright. The P-hats. Paste the spawn effect, and then spawning. Okay. So that should be the P-hats. Alright, cool. Okay, he's just chilling in the trees. Alright, so Tektites. And after these, that's all of them. Okay. Okay. That looks pretty good. Well... Oop. There's some slight issues with these guys. I think for the most part it's fine though. It can look a little weird sometimes. How'd I do that? Huh. Odd. Okay. So that's the overworld fixed. Now I need to fix the first dungeon to work in the same way. Okay. So... the rooms are split up. How do I make it... Man, this is slightly annoying. I gotta move... Okay. So, I don't want enemies to spawn until the room is entered. And so... I need to look at a few more rooms. Well, the good news is they're all the same size. So what I can do is in here, I can add an area 3D. This will be the link detector. Well, no. I can add a node 3D. And this will be load on enter. And this will go in there. And this will be room 01 loadables. Room loadables 01. Loadable 01, and then in chunked worlds we're going to create a new folder called dungeons, and then we're going to create a new folder called level 1, and this is going to we're going to save this in chunked worlds, dungeons, level 1 loadables. Save. And then we can then say add a area 3D. Call it link checker, and this is going to have a collision shape, which is a box of width of 6 and a or no, not that. 12 times 1.6. Yeah, okay. And then the Z is going to be, so it's 11 minus 4 is 7 times 1.6. Yeah. And then yeah. That's pretty good. Okay. Save that. And then this guy is going to go in scripts, chunked world, dungeon room loader. Okay. Create. And then this guy, we're going to save this as a scene, and dungeons. Save that there. We'll modify this so that body entered, connect. If body is link, then, or no, I think I used groups here. That is in group link, then going to load room, and then load room, unload room, okay, and then body exited, connect, same thing, just call unload room, there we go, and then we just need to do those things, which are at export var export path, file path, loadable will be string equal to. Actually, I can just export a packed scene, right? No, I can't. Will equal loadable path. Or no, will, yeah. Then on ready var loadable, this is our path, will equal load loadable path. Okay. And then var loadable will equal, this is our loadable scene. And then okay. Okay, so if I delete this And in here, I define this is the loadable. Then I throw link in here. Like right there. And let's also grab the environment node. Copy that. Okay. Oh, the Aquamentus. Aquamentus uses the Zora Fireball as well. Okay. Oh my god. I'm in the Aquamentus room. Let's get rid of that link. Okay. No? I bet you... Yeah. This needs to mask too. Alright. Okay. They loaded in. Alright, cool. That works, but the issue is that I can just keep spawning them like that. So I need to do the same thing I did in the overworld thing where I track what enemies I've killed and stuff and only load them in. I also need to keep track of what pickups I've already picked up and make sure that I can't pick them up again. So let's get that working here before messing with anything else. So loadable. This guy's gonna need a script. Call this loadables manager. And this is going to go in here. Yeah. Open. Create. And then I need to open up the enemy tracker. Let's make our var dungeons. It's going to equal level 1. Level 2. Okay. And so I think enemies are supposed to always respawn. So we'll keep track of pickups. Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll do it from in here. So in the loadables manager, on ready, we're going to do we'll make our data equal to this, and we need our get room name. It's going to be get parent dot name dot to lower if enemy tracker dot dungeons dot has room name, and data will equal enemy tracker dot dungeons room name. Otherwise, pickups. All right. Yeah. Or pick up in pickups dot get children if pickups data pickup dot name will equal true or will equal false. Else yeah, and then we will set enemy tracker dot dungeons room name equal to data, and then for pickup in pickups dot get children. Once again, I gotta check if pickup then if data pickup dot name then pickup dot queue free. There we go. So this will track what pickups we've already gotten. And then on exit tree, if pickups for pickup in pickup, well, no. If pickups, then data will equal the enemy tracker dot dungeons equal get and then for room or for pickup name in data if pickups dot has node pickup name has the node pickup name, then pickup name, then we will or if not has the node, or no, I can just set data pickup name equal to not has node, and then enemy tracker dot dungeons room name will equal data. Actually, I want to do that. So we're setting whether or not it's been picked up yet. Okay. Now, with that, I should be able to go into that first room, kill all the keys, pick up the key. Now if I leave, and then I go back in, and I kill all the keys, the pickup doesn't spawn because I already got it. Alright, cool. Okay. Now, keys need to the question is, do like Octoroks, do normal enemies extend enemy? If so, then I can't do it this way. I have to do it per thing. Why? Octorok. It does. Okay, so in here well, I still want the code from that guy. So give me those. Do that. In the ready function, set spawn position. Instead of doing this, we'll do state machine dot change state to, what is the keys idle state? Patrol. Change state to patrol. And then keys are going to have a new node 3D called spawning. That's gonna have, oops, save that. Let's open up our Octorok. Let's copy this. Let's paste it here. Spawn. on spawning. Okay. Let's add script to this guy, which is going to inherit state. Yeah. This will go in scripts, components, state machine, enemy spawning. Open, create, class name, enemy spawning, state, and there we go. So when we enter the state, we're going to... Oh, actually, I'm going to take all of these functions and move them here. Set position, this will be character.position. Enter spawn, or no, set spawn position. And then we're not actually going to do anything in this state except we're going to call, well, spawn gets called by the animation thing, so excuse me. All right, let's see. Yeah. Well, that didn't look like... Alright, the random position isn't working. Does the state machine... I need to call the enter function for that state. Okay. Params would be an empty array, and the previous state is going to be null. Okay, let's see if that fixes my issue. Okay. 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 It is important, though, for these guys that enemy spawning, instead of doing 6 and 3, we don't want them spawning within 3, so we need this to be 4 and 4, and this needs to be, or no. 5 and 5, and 2 and 2. Okay. 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 And for keys, where's the keys? Where's the keys? Their patrol state. Start their timer at 0. Okay. Level 1. Okay. There. Ugh. Nice. So, yeah, that is that room completely done. So now I can just take what I did here and extrapolate it to the other rooms. So So 0, 2. There are no loadables. We can ignore that. Yeah, let's close some things. Loadable. Yep. Okay. Okay. So 0, 1 done. 0, 3. Let's add a node 3D. This will be our loadables. And the enemies will go in there. And this is loadables 0, 3. And let's save branch as seen. Whoops. Scenes, chunked world, dungeons, level 1, loadable 0, 3. Save that. Then let's throw a link checker in here. Delete that. This link checker will do loadable 0, 3. And then the Stalfos need to have copy, paste. Need to have their spawning state added. Alright, and then that should be all I have to do, right? that's an issue. Because I can farm keys like this. I can... Okay. So I need to keep track of enemies with keys. So Stalfos, do they just... Yeah, has key is something on an enemy. So... Let's see. Loadables needs the loadables script put on it. Loadables manager. How do I want to store this data? Because right now, we store room name, pickup name is a Boolean. I could, in here, I could add a node, like a pickups node, and that will store a reference to a Stalfos, or a key holder, and on startup, it'll give that key holder a key. And then it will delete itself if that Stalfos dies. Or should I do if that key is picked up? Well, no, because then you could kill the Stalfos, spawn the key, not pick up the key, leave the room, enter the room, kill the Stalfos, spawn a second key, and farm him that way. So, it's going to be when the Stalfos dies, which is going to be easier anyways. So, let's add a node 3D, pickups. And this is going to have a node. And this will be key giver. Let's give it a script. This is going to go into scripts components, key giver, create. This at export var key holder is a I can just say it's an enemy. An enemy. And then on ready, key holder dot has key will equal true, and then and then I can just say key holder dot exit tree exited dot connect queue free. Okay. And then yeah, and that's should be all I have to do. And then in here, where I give Astolphos a key, so this guy has a key, so instead that's going to be off, and the key giver will take in Stalfos 5. Okay. And then so in here, they spawn in. One of them's gonna have a key. Yeah, he had the key, okay. So I get that. Then I leave and go back. And no, that did not work. What? So pickups, key giver. Okay. Let's see what went wrong there. Has key with value bool. Assignment of property has key. Because of this? Okay, destroyed. Okay. No, he has a key. Oh, I see. I see the issue. Okay. Alright, cool. That works. Alright. Also, I have noticed I need to add these. Alright, cool. Alright. I need to call back that number that just called. Alright guys, I'm back. Kadama, quit it. I know you're hungry, but it's not 5 o'clock yet. Okay. Now, the next room. This one. Let's add node 3D, create. This is pickups. That's going to be in there. Let's add a node 3D for loadables. 2. Goes in there. Save branches seen. Save. Okay. Throw a link checker in here. Delete that. Loadables 2. There we go. And then I also forgot I need to throw the loadables manager on that guy. All right. One, 2, 3. Let's add a node. Pickups. Let's add another node. Loadables 2, 3. It goes on there. Loadables manager. Save branches seen. Save. Throw a link checker in there. Delete that. And put 2, 3 as the loadable path. Save that. And 2, 1. Let's add a node D. Loadables 2, 1. Enemies go in there. That guy gets saved as loadables 2, 1. Put a link checker in here. Delete that. Link checker takes 2, 1. All right. That guy already functions correctly. Let me fix the order of that. There we go. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Okay. So the gel. So this guy needs the spawning state. All right. Three, two. Add a node 3D. Loadables 3, 2. Save branches seen. Save. Link checker. 3, 2. Delete that. All right. Okay. 3, 3. Pick up. Loadables. That needs the this loadables 3, 3. That needs the loadables manager on it, and this needs a link checker. This guy needs to be saved. Loadables 3, 3 save. Link checker 3, 3. Delete that. Okay. The Goria need to have spawning state. Copy that. There we go. Yeah, that's that. 3, 4. Pickups. Loadables 3, 4. Loadables manager. Save this. Loadables 3, 4. Throw a link checker in this guy with 3, 4. I can get rid of that. Okay. What was that? Okay. That one's done. 4-2. One of them has a key, right? Yeah. Yeah. One of them has a key. Okay. D. Pickups. Components. Key giver. Key holder is Stalfos 3. Turn that off. Add a node. Loadables. 2. Those in there. This guy needs the loadables manager. We need a link checker. This guy needs to be saved as a scene. And then the link checker needs loadable 4.2. And then I can get rid of this. Okay. And oh man, I'm out of time. Okay. I will finish this up off stream, and then and once this is done, we can start working on Dungeon 2, and then it's smooth sailing for the rest of the game. But I'll be live again tomorrow. See you guys then. Peace.